Hey, welcome! Today we're diving into economics, but from two totally different angles. We've got the choices you make every single day, and then there are these giant forces that shape the entire country's economy. So, are these two separate worlds, or are they really just two sides of the same coin? Let's get into it. Let's start with a question that hits all of us right where it counts. I'm talking about every time you're at the grocery store, filling up your car, or paying your rent. You feel it. Are things getting more expensive? This isn't just some headline, it's a real feeling in your wallet. And it turns out to even start answering a huge question like this, you need to look at the economy in two very, very different ways.
Okay, so let's start on familiar ground. Think of the entire economy as this massive, sprawling forest. Well, microeconomics is all about getting up close, walking among the trees, and studying each one individually. It's the economics of your world, the day-to-day choices that you and I and everyone around us makes.
And at the heart of this micro world are what economists call economic agents, which is really just a fancy way of saying anyone who makes a decision. That's you deciding what to buy. That's a company deciding how many people to hire. It's even a bank deciding what interest rate to offer you on a loan. We're all economic agents.
So here's the key. Microeconomics zooms in on the behavior of these individual players. It asks questions like, how do you, as a consumer, choose to spend your money to get the most bang for your buck? And on the flip side, how does a business owner set their prices to make the most profit possible? It's all about that individual level decision-making. The big thinker behind this whole approach is this guy, Adam Smith. Way back in 1776, he came up with a pretty radical idea. He wondered, what if everyone just focused on doing what was best for themselves? He argued that everyone chasing their own self-interest, would somehow almost magically end up benefiting everybody. And this quote just nails it. Smith is basically saying, look, we get dinner tonight not because the baker is a super generous person who just loves baking for us. No, we get our bread because the baker wants to make a living. You get what you want, he gets paid. In theory, this invisible hand of the market guides everything and everybody wins. And believe it or not, this was the main way of thinking about economics for more than 150 years. But what happens when all those individual good decisions don't actually add up to a good outcome for the country as a whole? Well, that's when we have to zoom out. We have to stop looking at the individual trees and get a view of the entire forest. And this is the world of macroeconomics. So you can see the difference in scale here, right? It's a total shift in perspective. With micro, we're asking about the price of a single loaf of bread. With macro, we're asking about inflation, the rise in prices across the entire economy. We're not asking if one company is hiring, we're asking about the national unemployment rate. It's all about the aggregate, the total output, the total employment, the whole big picture. So why do we even need this bird's eye view? Well, because sometimes what's good for one person or even one company can be bad for the country. Think about it. Your personal choices can't build a national highway system or fund every public school or fix massive nationwide unemployment. For those kinds of huge challenges, you need a completely different toolkit. Now, this shift from micro to macro, it wasn't just some quiet academic debate in a university hall. No, it was born from a full-blown global catastrophe. A crisis so huge, it forced economists to throw out the old rulebook and start from scratch. See, before the Great Depression, the standard thinking, that classical view from Adam Smith, was that the economy was basically a self-correcting machine. If some people lost their jobs, well, wages would just naturally fall, companies would start hiring again, and the system would always eventually find its way back to balance. Full employment was just seen as the normal default state of things. And then the crash happened. Between 1929 and 1933, the unemployment rate in the U.S. didn't just tick up a little bit. It skyrocketed from around 3% to an almost unbelievable 25%. 1 in every 4 workers had no job. That self-correcting machine, it was completely and utterly broken. And it wasn't just jobs. The total output of the entire U.S. economy, what we call its aggregate output, crashed by a third. Factories went silent. Farms were failing. In the old economic theories, they had zero explanation for what was happening and absolutely no solution for how to fix it. This timeline really shows you the turning point. The Great Depression just shattered that old way of thinking. Then, in 1936, a British economist named John Maynard Keynes publishes this game-changing book. In it, he argued for a totally new approach, that governments had to step in and actively manage the economy as a whole. And just like that, the modern field of macroeconomics was born.
So if macroeconomics is all about managing this big picture, then who are the new players on the field? Who are the decision makers that are trying to keep the whole forest healthy, not just a single tree?
Well, the players on this bigger stage aren't individuals or private companies anymore. Now we're talking about major public institutions. We're talking about the government itself. We're talking about a country's central bank, like the Reserve Bank of India, or market regulators like SEBI. These are the institutions that have the power and the tools to try and steer the entire economy.
And here is the absolute most fundamental difference. Unlike the butcher or the baker from Adam Smith's world, these macroeconomic players are not driven by private profit. Their job, their entire mandate, is the public good. Their goal is the economic well-being of the entire country and all of its people. Which, brings us right back to today. We've got the individual trees, that's microeconomics, and we've got the entire forest, that's macroeconomics. And we know who is supposed to be looking after that forest. So it really leaves us with this one final massive question. What is the single biggest economic problem they need to solve right now? The answer to that is going to shape all our lives for years to come.